Hello and welcome back to Hot Off the Presses. I'm Duncan.
I'm John.
Sweet. So you might notice this recording's a little different. It's because we were unable to access the Knowledge Lab today, unfortunately. Thank you, Eric, for that one.
Eric at the Knowledge Lab. You should probably be doing your job, my man.
Yeah, gotta come in at 10, dude. But we have a special guest here today. You can't see her because we don't have a camera right now because we weren't able to get into the Knowledge Lab. Thank you again, Eric. But the wonderful assistant campus editor, Amelia, is here.
Hello.
Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. My name is Amelia Angelone. I am a junior. I study for environmental law, and this is my second semester with the Exponent.
Sick. Awesome. Let's dive right into it. First off, let's briefly mention Purdue professors are creating this smart pacifier that could detect health issues in infants prematurely. I think that's pretty cool. I think that could be a neat thing.
Very awesome, yeah.
Yeah. There were a lot of opinions in this week. If you want to check the Monday, February 16th edition, you get to see John's wonderful column with Dana about the 2026 food pyramid.
Or should I call it an upside-down food triangle?
Exactly, like South Park.
Exactly like that.
Yeah. There's those opinions, and then in the Thursday, February 19th edition, I have my Should Chang Stay or Should Chang Go piece editorial about the Chang administration and the current state of the university. Check those out. Let's go into and discuss this Senate bill. Senate Bill 182, which is not passed, it's just proposed, would restrict restrooms. So people would only be allowed to go into the restrooms based off the sex they were assigned at birth.
Yeah, and in the paper, a lot of different opinions given on it, but you know what I say, Duncan.
What do you say?
I say we just need restrooms that have better stalls where you can't just literally see right through them.
Mm-hmm. Or just tear them off.
If we just had better restrooms in general, I think everything would be fine.
No, yeah, wonderful. Yeah. I also think it's kind of ridiculous, the idea that it's the women's restroom, so I'm not going to go in there and do awful things.
Yeah, exactly, right? Nobody's, if someone's going to do something terrible, they're just going to do it. I mean, the door is not it's not scanning you for your gender. You can just walk in anyway. So it's at a certain point, I don't know what people think they're accomplishing by, limiting it.
Yeah.
But, whatever.
But then again, it hasn't passed the state Senate. It's in the state Senate. We'll see what happens with that. There was a armed male arrested in the Indy campus of Purdue. He was detained. He was arrested on the preliminary charges of possessing a firearm by a serious felon, violent felon, and resisting law enforcement. So essentially, officers were called because they heard of a group fight, and then when officers arrived, the group dispersed, and they just caught one guy, and he was a serious violent felon who happened to have a gun on him.
And he had a gun. Did they say what kind?
That's a great question. I don't think they say which one, but
because I know we were talking before this. When I saw this, just this headline, I was like, whoa,
I was worried about a school shooter.
Exactly, me as well, right? A mass shooting event. But then reading it, I don't know if it necessarily was that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the Boiler basketball. That game against the Wolverines didn't go so well for us. I wish we could have kept it a little bit closer.
Yeah, it seems like a great atmosphere in Mackey, but after 5 minutes, we were not hanging.
No, absolutely not. But we did crush the Hoosiers, which exactly proves my theory. This is the comeback they were told to play. They're like, Painter beckoned over to them and to Lawyer, to TKR, to Braden Smith, and he was like, you guys play this one. you guys do well. And they did, and they just took off with it. I mean, honestly, I turned the game off after we got a 15-point lead because at that point it didn't become an interesting game anymore.
Oh yeah, we were dominant, and honestly, we needed to be. I think this team needed to have a dominant win. We really should have beaten them the first time. Mm-hmm. You know, Mr. Conspiracy Theorist Tinfoil Hat over here thinks that they weren't trying, but I don't know. I feel like every year we sort of get into a slump where we lose a few games. We needed to win this one, you know, and prove that we're really a top team.
Yeah, agreed. Sweet. I think we're all through our lightning news in lightning record time. Yeah, let's talk about your stories this week, Amelia. You made the front page twice over your childcare closure stories. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the major complaint here is that the ECEC Center, run by Daily Learning Indiana, is closing down in April of this year. About 100 students will not have access to childcare through this institution anymore, and that's losing roughly a third of all of Purdue's childcare capabilities, which obviously is a huge impact. And a lot of the students at the ECEC Center are children of Purdue faculty, so a lot of the Purdue community, like their ability to work, will also be impacted by this closure.
Yeah.
Yeah, a third is crazy.
A third is wild.
Is insane.
Are there 3 daycare centers around? Oh, I see.
Yes.
So why do we only have 3 daycare centers? I mean, we're holding up a 50,000 student population plus faculty plus staff. Like Mung Chang has young kids, you know?
Yeah.
I will say that is actually something that's been studied in the West Lafayette community. There was a 2024 or 2025 study, I can't remember off the top of my head, run by APA Consulting, which found that there was a lack of childcare in West Lafayette that needed a rectification of about 75 to 125 extra slots. And mind you, this is before SK Hynix is coming in, and this is before the closure of ECEC was even announced. So there's a major childcare shortage in West Lafayette right now.
That's insane. And when you're trying to get, you know, people to come here, you know, have faculty, like move here to be faculty here at Purdue.
With their families.
With their families, you know, childcare is a big, you know, and a lot of people you talk to in the article, like, were citing that as, like, it's sort of a betrayal to, you know, faculty.
Yeah, I remember I had spoken with Angeline Lyon, or Leon, I'm not sure how exactly to pronounce her last name, but she had mentioned that, you know, she's had a bunch of struggles with childcare, especially with Purdue-run childcare. Sorry, I shouldn't say Purdue-run. It is run by Daily Learning Indiana, but it is Purdue-affiliated. And I remember in the first edition I had printed on this, she had cited this as a betrayal that, you know, Purdue, when they're going into recruitment, tries to portray themselves as very family friendly. This is also something I heard from another professor, Bettina Close, that was a reason they had chosen Purdue to, you know, do their research, do their lecturing, is because they thought it would be more family friendly than it was. And the current issues they're facing are really impacting their views of the university.
Is there anything other issues with childcare in the Purdue surrounding area other than the closure of this one center? Were there underlying issues before? I know that, like, overcrowding, like not enough slots, but were there any other issues associated with that?
Yeah, there's also been, in this same study done by APA Consulting, kind of a study into, like, barriers of access, where either there's, like, nothing close enough to the home where it isn't a major commute, or where it is overcrowding, because that's kind of our major issue in town, is just the fact that we don't have enough slots for the amount of children we have in West Lafayette. One of the solutions they're trying to give for the closure of the ECEC Center is they're converting the recess room of the Patty Jishke Center into, like, a classroom area, but
a singular classroom.
A singular classroom, I believe, at least so far as I've heard. So University Senator Kyle Haynes had gone over this with me, and this is something I had written about in my second edition of this story. He majorly critiques this choice because there are no windows in this room, And
What? There's no windows?
no windows in this room. There's no restrooms in that room. And this is also the recess room of the Patty Jishke Center, meaning that during the winter and days where it's too hot in the summer, children won't have anywhere to burn off their energy because they just won't have an indoor recess room anymore.
This is America.
This is American childcare. Oh my gosh. And I feel like this is sort of unforeseen or like not talked about impact of like the housing crisis, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that area over by Providence Apartments, I don't know if you guys have been over there, but like Providence is mainly marketing, from what I've heard, toward families. They want families going in there. They don't want students living in those apartments necessarily. And there are like a bunch of those like suburban houses over there that are meant for people to raise their families. Where are the kids going to go during like school hours? Yeah.
That actually is where the ECEC Center is, towards the end of State Street there. And, you know, now that it's closing, with those new families, or at least the goal of new families moving into those apartments, there just isn't childcare on that side of campus anymore.
Yeah, and what gets me too is like the timeline here, right? I mean, we talked about it a little bit before. So they received an email on January 15th that it would close in April.
Yep.
Right. So really not a lot of time at all to change anything about it. But when did the university know that, you know, that center would maybe be closing down?
Yeah, so I haven't gotten any concrete statement from the university on when they knew, but I remember I had spoken, this was with Bettina Clothes as well, that she had mentioned the university knew about 14 months ahead that there would be some possibility of closure in the future, and that parents were only alerted roughly 3 months before closure would occur. And with wait lists, you know, there are stories from professors that I've also included in here saying that they went on wait lists while they were pregnant, and now that their child is actively 9 months old, they still haven't gotten into daycare slots. So wait lists are not 3 months. It takes much longer than that.
I see in here that there was a letter to administration. Could you expand on that?
So this was something shared with me by some of the concerned faculty parents of ECEC students. It is a petition asking Provost Wolf and President Chang to keep this daycare center open. It cites several quotes from Chang and Wolf about how they have stated that childcare is a vital part of a healthy campus community, and that the parents of ECEC students feel that this is kind of contradictory to statements they have made about its importance before. Members of the Purdue community are able to sign this petition agreeing with the parents, saying that the ECEC should be kept open longer than April of this year to help kind of maintain the ability for campus to kind of function in and of itself.
Sounds like it just needs some more infrastructure, honestly. Yeah. Do we want to move on to the next topic?
Yeah, I think we can move on.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for that awesome reporting, Amelia. So the director of the NIH came on Wednesday to speak in the Stewart Center to the Purdue populace. He was interviewed by the new CLA dean. Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about that, John?
Yeah. So Dr. J. Bhattacharya and Christopher Yeomans is the new dean, right? And they basically talked about this. The topic was liberty as an engine for science. Supposed to be an open to the public fireside chat. Now, based on reading and what I've heard, I don't know if it was a chat so much as a Q&A, where just questions were asked and answers were given, right? Questions that maybe were reviewed ahead of time.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot about free speech, which has been sort of Dr. J's talking point, like, throughout his directorship at the NIH, I believe, where he's just talking about free speech and focusing on research. Although he does have this interesting quote in here: "We're not making investments in trying to prevent all pandemics or doing research. The sole focus is research that improves the health and well-being of every American." I circled that because that just struck me
Yeah,
wrong.
absolutely. Not making investments and trying to prevent all pandemics. I mean, well, what are we doing then? I mean, I guess I'm left baffled by that. And I just want to say that, I even think that the article that we put out on this talk, while it's a good article talking about the event itself, I think there's more that people should know about Dr. J, that he's a pretty controversial figure, at least to most, as far as I'm aware, to most scientists and researchers. He's kind of an interesting figure, downplaying aspects of the COVID pandemic, kind of advising against lockdowns, and also now with the cuts that the NIH has had to mRNA vaccine research, he's defended these cuts, which I think most people will see as pretty controversial, because I think it's widely accepted in the scientific community that mRNA research is really important and shows a lot of promise. So unfortunate. There is some things that, he said that I think, he mentioned getting more NIH grants to the younger population of scientists, which I think is a good idea overall, because I think those scientists are very productive earlier in their careers, and they're hungry to try to get things published and do good work. So
They're
I think
passionate.
that's a good idea. But when he talks about, another quote he has is, when we get caught up in this sort of desire to achieve social justice through our funding, you can't make America healthy again. And he also says that we should focus on improving health outcomes for the population rather than pursuing social or political projects. But what does he think is a political project, right? I mean, disparities in healthcare is not just a political project. It's something that, when he says we get caught up to achieve social justice, I mean, social justice is good, right? I mean, I don't know. I think it's an interesting thing to be saying, for sure. And that's part of making America healthy again, right? And it's also part of preventing pandemics, right? Is we have disparities in healthcare. We have these issues in our healthcare system that are related to social issues, and we have to acknowledge that and pursue that, right? We can't just condemn social justice funding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree with everything you just said there. I don't know. I just find the NIH director more concerned about free speech than protecting the American public. That's what this reads to me as.
For sure. Free speech.
Super important. So I love free speech. I'm biggest supporter of free speech over
me
here.
too, right?
Okay.
But he's the director of the NIH.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's what,
And it's also pandemics affect Americans. I don't know where he gets off thinking that they don't, or that it won't improve the health and well-being of every American. And he says every American. That's part of what social justice aims to achieve, is every American. Make America healthy again, the slogan. It's supposed to be for all Americans. You can't just say, we're going to make these Americans healthy, not these Americans.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think that's all I have on that. Sweet. And then the last thing. Wait. Let me go to the article. Sheila Klinker's retiring.
After one more campaign.
After one more campaign, she plans to retire. I mean, Amelia, you've grown up around here. What's that been like with such a long-serving state representative such as Sheila Klinker?
I feel like it's just sort of, I'm not sure how to phrase this. She's been almost like a mascot for the community for so long. She's just a fixture. I grew up in Lafayette, knowing her as my representative, and seeing her at big events in Lafayette. And I mean, obviously, I knew, Sheila's not immortal. She was going to retire at some point, but it's just, I don't know. It seems kind of odd to think that one day there's going to be a representative for Lafayette who isn't Sheila Klinker. But
Yeah, she first took the office in 1982. She's currently 87 years old, and she's so funny. I've had a lot of conversations with her. I covered her last election, her last campaign, and I really enjoyed it. She's always incredibly nice, incredibly courteous. She really cares about the community, and you can see how much the community cares about her through her interactions. She's super involved. She's at every event I bump into her, which is so lovely. I do want to know, she does talk about like her campaign goals in the future, and she does say, like in her last term, she does mention the Purdue's music major. I didn't know that we had a music major, so I just wanted to say we have a music major. It's relatively new.
I think it's 2021.
Yeah, I was looking at it. It was 2021. And it started like fall of 2022. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's-
definitely. I mean, I'm the kind of person that I like to see young people in charge of the government. I like to see, up and coming people, but also, you have to give people a chance. And when I read her goals, protecting programs at Purdue, like the music program that we have, as well as, trying to establish a minimum like baseline salary for teachers. And, we have a problem where we're losing teachers, and it's hard for teachers right now. And so going and trying to protect our educators is great. There's really no way to deny that. That's an agenda I'm a fan of.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, she goes over what her biggest accomplishment in her career was. And she said it was helping to create the court-appointed special advocates program in Indiana. Do you guys know what CASA is?
I have heard of it, but I wouldn't say I know it in detail.
I did not.
CASA essentially supports neglected or abused children through the court system, and is sort of their legal representative when their legal guardians aren't necessarily doing right by them, or could not possibly be doing what's best for them. So I think that's a wonderful thing that I didn't know that Clinker started, but I just it'll be sad to see her retire. So yeah. And I think that's it for this
I think
week.
That's a wrap.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
guys for having me on.
Hopefully,
Of course.
hopefully next week Eric will be there.
Yep. You go, Eric.